Welcome to today's Table Talks. My name is Scott Kappelman, and I'm joined by my two co-hosts. We've got Clark McGehee on the far end of the table, and we've got Tyce Lawbinger right here in the middle of the table. How are you guys feeling today?
I'm feeling great. I'm glad to be back in the studio, if we can call it that this morning.
That's right.
That's what we call it, I think. So glad to be back in the Crosspoint studio, and glad the football season's starting back up. It's just a good time. Fall is getting here. Weather's cooling down. I mean, a bunch of good reasons to be happy.
Now, Clark, you have on your New Orleans Seminary shirt. You've started class for the fall semester at Blue Mountain College. That's an extension of New Orleans Seminary. How's it going so far?
I actually am really liking it a lot so far. We've had a good amount of work, I will say. Just the nature of the classes that I'm taking, learning a new language in Hebrew, systematic theology, a lot of reading. But I've come to expect that a little bit now with seminary, so I'm enjoying it.
Okay. Tyce, how are you?
I'm good. A little sleepy. We typically record at least one of these in the morning, and then another one or a redo in the afternoon. But
Well, Clark just a minute said morning as a part of his response, and we're actually in the afternoon.
Oh, did I say morning?
You
That's
did,
funny.
but it's okay. It's
That's
okay.
okay. Yeah.
It happens after lunch, so we get confused about times and dates.
That is true.
Yeah, that's
a lot
right.
of things.
I'm
Yeah.
here to give my best, so I'm ready.
And you're in seminary as well.
I am. Yep.
You're in the same Hebrew class.
Same Hebrew class.
How are you feeling about Hebrew?
I'm feeling much better than I was week one.
Me too.
It's
yeah.
getting better.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say I can read the language by any means, but now that I know how the letters and vowels work, everything else is just grammar rules. So I'm like,
Feeling better.
I'm not feeling like I'm learning a new language anymore. Now I'm feeling like I'm just learning the rules of a language.
Okay.
So.
That's a good thing.
Yep.
All right. Well, we're glad you joined us today. What we want to talk about, it is the month of September. We've just celebrated Labor Day weekend. We're recording this on the Tuesday following Labor Day. So we thought we should have a topic in September that has to do with work. So our question for today is, what is the biblical worldview of work? So let's go back to childhood. Did either one of you have chores when you were a child? Because that's usually where people start their work journey, is with chores. Clark, did you have some chores?
Yeah, I love that you always take us back to childhood in these table talks, it feels like. And I did have chores as a kid. I had to take out the garbage. I would vacuum and sweep, and my room always had to be clean. Like, it was like that was the biggest chore.
Did your mom come and do a check?
She would, yeah. But it would be more of it wasn't so formal. She'd walk in and she'd go, "It's way too dirty in here," and I would know what that means.
That was her way of saying we need some work done.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Tyce?
We had chore days, not daily, weekly. It was periodical. Looking at this list, we had chore days, but it was more we had chores when my parents told us we had chores. So it was never a list or anything like that. We did, Sundays was our day for dishes. Sunday after lunch, all the kids had to do dishes.
Just on Sundays?
Just on Sundays after lunch. Now, we were expected to take...
been a lawbinger.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I mean, we were expected to take our plate to the sink and, like, scrape the food off in the trash, but no. So it was... Sundays were about our only big thing that we knew was weekly. Everything else was when our parents told us this had to get done.
I feel like I was in a small concentration camp compared to that. I was expected to make up my bed every day, and then my parents had this rule that you had to sweep the carport. I had to sweep the carport every day after school, first thing.
Every day?
Every day.
No, I didn't.
Because my mom's theory was, if the carport's dirty, the house is going to be dirty, because you're going to track in the dirt from the carport as soon as you come through the threshold of the front door or the kitchen door.
Well, we were a no-shoe house, so that wasn't going to happen.
We may have to have an episode on that one day.
Do you think so?
Wearing shoes in the house or not in the house.
Okay.
I think that's a very interesting topic.
It is an interesting topic.
Clark, you had another thought, though, you wanted to share that I cut you off.
I was just going to add to Tyce, chore days were the worst.
Chore days were the worst because we didn't have periodic chores, so that they piled up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm talking on our floor days, we were like scrubbing floorboards. Like, it was like,
we wipe baseboards.
Yeah, I'm like, this has got to be the worst.
I had to wash dishes every night for supper, after supper. My parents cooked, and then I had to wash, and my sister, once she got old enough, joined me. But
I'll tell you what I'll recommend to the parents, and this is, you get this for free. This isn't even a table talk. To make a list, like a comprehensive list, because there would be nothing worse than finishing your list, going up to my mom, being like, "Hey, I finished my list," and say, "Oh, that's perfect. I got 2 more things to do." No, I mean, that was the worst. I thought I'd finished it. So if you can make a comprehensive list, that one's for free.
Now, this is for free. This is
Okay.
promotion of Tyce. He has a podcast for our parents called Growing
true.
98% Faster.
Yes.
And you address this issue of chores.
I do, and I
in
do
one
not
of the
think
episodes.
I don't think the approach that my parents took in it. I do give a little bit more ideas. Now, I will say, like, I know where we're going with this. I feel like I've got a pretty good work ethic. Like, not having set chores did not set me up for just a terrible path. And we were expected, like, if I wanted to go out or something, like, I had to make sure areas were clean. Like, my area was clean, but it was just not. It was just
Well,
different.
I wanted to mention that because of what you said, Clark, about making a comprehensive list, because Tyce does that in his episode. You could give your child a list
Yeah.
and then let the child work it off
Through the week.
at his or her pace.
That's great.
So that's what made me think of that.
I think that's very good.
Okay. All right. Did you get paid for your chores? That's a quick question.
We got, because we did chores, when we did the chores, my parents were happy to give us money if we needed, like, to go out to eat with friends
Okay.
or stuff like that. Now, my Spotify and my video game, like, live where I could play with other people, that was paid for by cutting grass.
Oh,
So my subscriptions were essentially covered by chores
Okay.
later on.
Did you get paid, Clark?
when they felt like it.
I think that's the answer I was going to give.
Yeah, they just kind of, it would be like, "Oh yeah, we should pay him for this," and he's doing all his chores, and then sometimes it was just the norm that, "Yeah, you're doing chores because we put food on the table," kind of mentality.
Well, I think my parents paid me at times when the money was adequate in their budget, but then if they were running short, they just kind of slightly forgot.
Well, that was a life lesson for you, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was. All right.
This just makes me think, did you grow up in a household where, like, when you were younger, birthday money just went to your parents? They're like, "I'll hold on to that for you," and then you never see it again?
Not at my house, but we did that with our kids. So the birthday money from their grandparents went into a fund, not the money they got from their friends, but the birthday money they got from their grandparents always went into an account, and that's how they paid for their first year of college.
Oh, okay. So they saw the
that's a
money.
little
They got it
different.
back.
Okay,
That's a
okay.
little
It was an
different.
investment, and then we used the money when they got to college.
I
to
thought you
pay
just
for the first year.
said, "I'll take care of
No,
this."
no. We were not stealing from them. All right. What about your first real job? Let's move from chores to your first job. When did you get your first real job? Can you remember, Tyce? Was it Crosspoint?
No, it was Crosspoint. No. I do. I don't remember what age I was. I had to have been 16. My first real job, I got hired at Sonic, but they never trained me, so I quit on day 3 because I just showed up 3 days in a row and sat in the kitchen for an hour, and then they're like, "Well, no one's here to train you, so you can just go home."
Really?
So that was my first real job, yeah. But I had, like, growing up, I had done some landscaping, not moving dirt or anything, but helping out some people at my church. So I got paid $10 an hour for that. And I did that for years. But my first, like, real, I got to fill out a W-2 job was at Walmart. And I worked there for 5 years. So
And you have some very interesting stories.
I am probably one of, like, 10 people in the world that said I loved working at Walmart. But part of it is because of the interesting
One of 10
stories.
people in the world.
So
Clark, when was your first job? Real job?
My first real job was when I was 18, and at least from what I can remember, when I was 18, and I started working at a grocery store, and 2 days later, COVID hit. And
Really?
Yep. And my mom, I did not want to quit at all. I was finally making money, and I had not even gotten a paycheck. I just thought it was a nice idea to make money, but my mom made me quit because she was so scared about everything that was going on with the COVID, dilemma that we all went
So
through.
y'all both had short tenures at your first job.
We
So
did. Yeah.
That's crazy.
I know, it was pretty wild. But then I got a job pretty soon after that at Subway and stayed there for about a year. So
So you made sandwiches.
I did. Sandwich artist, you could say.
Oh, sandwich artist.
Yeah, that's what they call them to make you feel a little bit better about making sandwiches all day.
Well, my first job that I remember is every summer I had to go for 2 weeks. My grandfather built houses, and so my parents would send me to work with him. I learned very quickly I am not a future house builder. I was not skilled. Even my grandfather would say every summer, I don't know why your parents send you to me because you obviously can't do this. So I would get the broom and sweep up the sawdust and things of that nature most days. But my first real job, I was probably 12 or 13 years old, and at that time the labor laws were different, so it didn't make a big deal. But I worked as a bagger and a stock boy at a grocery store in our local town.
Gotcha.
And I loved it. It was a lot of fun. I liked the people I worked with. They were funny. They were fun.
And gave you a sense of adulthood.
And I got money. I mean, as a
money.
12, 13-year-old, I was making a little bit of money. I only worked, I don't know, 4 or 5, 6 hours a week.
Yeah. But it was
in
cool.
the summers, it increased. But, during the school year, it was just a few hours here and there.
Right.
Yeah. So it was fun. All right. Any lessons that you learned in your first job?
That's a good question. I want to give it to Tyce here while I think.
I don't know if you can tell these Walmart stories without exposing Walmart, but
yeah, I don't know, because one of these things, like, give it maximum effort whenever you're asked to. Like, I was asked actually not to do that.
At Walmart,
I was actually asked not to give maximum effort on a few times. But I mean, I truly, it was, the biggest thing was take pride in your work. Like, if you're going to do any work, take pride in it, do it well, do it to the best of your abilities. And then I have something else that comes with that, but I think it's a later question. So
okay.
I kind of learned to try to make the best of every situation, I would say. Thinking back to Subway, because I won't count the first job, but thinking back to Subway, I really did learn to just, I'm sure I did my fair share of complaining, but for the most part, I was really pretty happy being a sandwich artist.
Did you ever have people that got mad because you made the wrong sandwich or it wasn't what they expected when you handed it to them?
No, because I mean, I'm making it in front of them, so it was
they're
like
picking what they're putting on.
They're picking what they're putting on. Now, I did have some people that were like, we had rules about how many pieces of meat we could put on each sandwich, and I mean, they would like
wanted more.
Yeah, they would let me know that was ridiculous what I'd put on there. So I would say, okay, well, I'd probably just, honestly, I don't remember what I did, but I'd probably just put more meat on there. I can't have this fight right now. You can get whatever you want.
For me, I learned to be on time. That was a big thing that our boss, our owner, was a stickler on. Be respectful to all people, because in a grocery store, which you only had a 2-day experience,
right?
You had all kind of people come in. Some who were wonderful, respectful people. Some who just wanted you to do what they told them. So he just said, you got to be respectful. Focus on your assigned task, but always be available to help other people. He was real big on that. And then the other thing that I did not enjoy, but it was one of the assignments of the grocery stores, when you ran out of stuff to do, you always went back to facing the shelves, is what he called it. Bringing the product
Everything
straight
forward
out to the front where everybody could see it. And I was praying to the Lord that there would be new tasks that would arise, because I hated facing the shelves. The other was sweeping the floor, which was not as bad. But he did expect us to give maximum effort. So I learned some good lessons while I was there.
That's good.
All right. What about your view from God's angle? How did you learn about God's view of work? Did you learn that in your home? Did your parents talk about it? Did you learn about it in church? Did you just kind of learn about it after the fact when maybe you were out on your own? Anything you remember about that?
Yeah, so I do remember, like, my parents always taught me, and this is biblical worldview, that like all legal work is honorable. So they said, as long as you are doing something, you're doing it for the glory of God, then it doesn't matter what job you're working. It's honorable work in His sight. And so do it to His glory and do it to the best of your abilities. So I was taught that very early on.
I'm not sure my parents ever vocalized anything about work, about as far as the biblical side goes, but they definitely gave me good principles to hold on to. And you actually wrote some of these down too, Pastor Scott, on your notes. But, doing everything to the best that you can do it. And, because my mom had some high standards for our chores. So when we were doing our chores, I would have to do them right. And then during my time at Subway was also the time that I kind of started to dig more into the Word as well. So I kind of learned about caring for people and also taking the best of every situation more in that way. So I really think that at Subway, I learned that even in the face of, disrespect, you've got to just be cordial, be calm about it. And I think that was through just my studying the Scripture. But
that's good. I don't remember my parents saying a lot about it, and I'm sure my dad, who was a pastor, preached on a godly view of work, but maybe as a kid I was not really cued in because it was not applicable to me. But like your mom, Clark, my mother had really high standards, and she would say all the time, if you're going to do something, you better do it to the best of your ability. And she was a stickler on it. So
yeah, I don't know if Clark is learning prosperity gospel or what, but I looked over and he just pulled a $5 bill out of the page that he turned to, and I don't know what Bible he has, but I want that one.
$5 bill
I
from
want
his
that
Bible.
It was my like bookmark to make sure I could get
$5
to
bill.
the-
You've got that kind of money at Cross Point.
Well, I thought it was fitting for our conversation about work today.
To use a $5 bill.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
well
right.
that's good. That's good.
Oh, I apologize.
The only other rule my parents had is you're going to do your work, and that included your homework before you play. So sweeping the porch, getting the math homework or whatever was really critical because I wanted to go play every afternoon. As
Yeah,
much as
I remember
could.
that too.
So those were two things they taught me.
Mhm.
All right, let's talk about some scriptures. What are some scriptures that you think would be important for those who are watching today to maybe consider as it relates to work? Now, this past Sunday, again, we're just recording this on Tuesday following Labor Day weekend. We had Dwayne Partridge, who has been on our ministry team in the past, but Dwayne is a chemical engineer, works at Tronox, which is a company over in Hamilton, Mississippi. They make paint. And Dwayne talked to us about how to live out our faith in the workplace. I thought Dwayne did a fantastic job Sunday, and
Me too.
I appreciated everything that he had to say. And he used maybe one or two of these verses that we're going to perhaps look at, but any that you want to share with our audience today.
Yeah, I've got 1 Thessalonians 4, 11 through 12, and he's talking to the disciples about brotherly love. He's talking to the church about brotherly love, and he's talking about, how to live your life. This is Paul, and he says to seek to lead a quiet life, to mind your own business, and to work with your own hands as we commanded you, so that you may behave properly in the presence of outsiders and not be dependent on anyone. So I thought that was a really important verse for us to look at here today, that work is important because it helps us to not be dependent on anyone. And it kind of releases burdens from other people, for one thing, but it also takes a sense of responsibility on our own side that, we are responsible for our lives as men, we're responsible for our families, and we have to work to provide for them. So
That's good. I like that.
yeah.
Tyce, you got one? Do you want to share?
Yes, I do. I have Philippians 2, verse 14 following. And I know this verse starts off with working out our own salvation, but I think it applies. So it says, do all things without grumbling or questions, so that you may be blameless and innocent children of God, without blemish in the midst of a crooked and twisted generation, among whom you shine as a light of the world, holding fast to the word of life, so that on the day of Christ I may be proud that I did not run in vain or labor in vain. And so this one just talks about, hey, not everything's always going to go great in your work environment. And that's not to say that we just, anything that goes wrong, we just throw it away and say, well, like, God, I'm going to do it for God's glory, and it's going to be okay because God's with me. Like, there are times where work does become so bad that you might need to leave, but you can do that without grumbling or complaining. You can do that still knowing that you've done it as a light to the world. You've done everything to your ability at that point. But really, just work sometimes is just terrible. And sometimes you just got to do it and do it without grumbling, do the things you don't want to do.
Well, that's why I included in my list Genesis 3:17-19. After Adam and Eve sinned against God, and God comes to hold them accountable for their sin. When he speaks to Adam, it says, and he said to the man, because you listened to your wife and ate from the tree about which I commanded you, do not eat from it. The ground is cursed because of you. You will eat from it by means of painful labor all the days of your life. It will produce thorns and thistles for you, and you will eat the plants of the field. You will eat bread by the sweat of your brow until you return to the ground, since you were taken from it, for you are dust, and you will return to dust. And the reason I included that is because every day when we have moments of drudgery at work or unfruitfulness, or it's just a long day that doesn't seem to accomplish anything, it's a reminder sin is present.
That is very true.
And really, work could be one of the greatest open doors to the gospel
Oh, yeah.
that we have, because everybody has days when they go, I hate my job, or this is just a waste of time. And it's all the result of sin.
Yeah, I'll actually follow that because I was going to talk about what Dwayne said in his sermon. And I think one of the most helpful things for me that he said in his sermon is just the reminder that our battle is not against flesh and blood, but against powers of principalities. And I have worked in the secular environment, and even now, like, I've tutored and I've done all these things, and there can be times that you can get so frustrated with the people that you're working with, that you're interacting with. But Dwayne said a good reminder for us that those people are just lost and they don't know anything but sin. And then even if they're believers, people stumble, they sin. That's just the effects of sin in the world.
Yeah, that's right. And I think we've mentioned, even in spite of that sin issue that is all over the work environment, we are going to do everything, including work, for God's glory. That can come out of, a verse like 1 Corinthians 10:31, Colossians 3:23, which one of you referenced a moment ago, do everything as though you're working for the Lord. And so I think in spite of the sin and the frustration of it, I think we do have an obligation. And what I liked about what Dwayne said Sunday, to use a follow-up on that, Clark, is he said we're actually working for God.
Oh, yeah.
I like that point that he made very early in what he had to share.
I agree.
That we're actually employees of God in everything that we do. So I thought that was kind of a neat concept to think about.
And to like doing good in your work gives you credibility among your coworkers. I like that he pointed that out too. And then that gives you credibility for gospel conversations.
Right.
So,
yeah.
But I wanted to add quickly, Ephesians 4:28. I mentioned 1 Thessalonians 4:11-12, and it was about providing for your family and not relying on someone else. But I think kind of on the flip side of the coin, or on the other side of the coin, Ephesians 4:28, let the thief no longer steal. Instead, he is to do honest work with his own hands so that he has something to share with anyone in need. So there is that first principle of don't steal and do your own work, honestly. But the end says so that he has something to share with anyone in need. So you should work to not be dependent on anyone else. But there are times that some people just can't work, or they are in more need than you are. And you working actually helps you to be able to share those things with people in need.
I like that. That's good. Any other scriptures that either one of you wanted to mention?
Yeah, I do. I have one more. Jeremiah 17, verse 7. And it says, blessed is the man who trusts in the Lord, whose trust is the Lord. And so sometimes, just going on again, maybe it's with Clark's example, and hey, like, man, I really need this money, but like my trust is in the Lord that he's going to provide for me, but my trust is the Lord that like I can give this and that he's called me to give this. And that's the same thing with work. Sometimes it's just my trust is in the Lord. I'm doing this for his glory, but ultimately my trust is the Lord that he is going to get me through this hard day, or he's going to get me through this hard season.
I like that. That's a good reminder as well.
It is.
All right, let's now move to a question. Is there any advice, very similar to what I asked Dwayne to do in the sermon for Sunday as he was trying to teach us how to take our faith to the workplace? Is there any advice you would like to offer a Jesus follower who's working in a secular job? We get to sit in an office like this and have good Bible discussions and think about godly things almost every day for 40 hours a week. But the vast majority of people who are watching this are in an opposite environment.
Yep.
So what advice would you like to throw at them today?
I mean, ultimately, just there's so many Bible verses about being different and being set apart from the world, and just you are called to be set apart. You are called to be just different than the rest of the world. And maybe like some people, that could be good or bad. For some jobs, it's, hey, like I'm going to give more effort than everyone else here because no one's giving effort, and I know that I'm called to be different and I'm called to follow the Lord. But other times it's everyone's giving maximum effort, and like God has called me to my family, God has called me to my church, and maybe it's setting boundaries that other people don't have. And so just in the workplace, you know that you're called to be set apart and different, but for the goodness and glory of God. And so that could look differently depending on your job.
That's good.
Yeah, kind of a similar note. I think I just would like to encourage the person working in a secular environment that their job has a greater purpose than just, making money or whatever it is of that day. Like it fits into God's kingdom purpose. And I have Exodus 31:3 pulled up here in my $5 under my Bible. Says, I have filled, this is talking about Bezalel, I believe is how you say it, says, I have filled him with God's Spirit, with wisdom, understanding, and ability in every craft to design artistic works in gold, silver, and bronze. And it goes on to talk about him metalworking. But the very first time we've ever seen anyone filled with the Spirit of God in Scripture is for this metalworker to complete a work that God has for him to do. So a lot of people might look at something like a metal worker and say, oh, well, that's not nearly as helpful for God's kingdom as somebody maybe in our position. I've had that conversation a lot. And I just try to encourage people working in the secular environment that they do have purpose in God's kingdom, that he can use what they're doing and oftentimes does.
Any others a piece of advice y'all want to add at this point?
I mean, you have a good list here. I don't go ahead and say what you want to say off your list, and then I might add.
Well, I think living with integrity is really important, because if we are going to ever have an opportunity to share the gospel with our coworkers, then the things that we have professed with our mouth have to match up with our lives and the way we live and operate in the work environment. And that, I think one of you mentioned this earlier, that gives us the credibility we need to actually share the gospel, and they see that as a message of integrity. There's not a disconnect between what we've said and how we've lived. So I think integrity is really important. I do think it's important to give maximum effort, especially when there could be other employees beside you or working with you who tend to make decisions based on shortcuts. And so and that kind of speaks to what you said a moment ago, Tyce, that we want to be set apart and live at with a different standard than other people. And then, of course, remember that your work does offer you a chance to glorify God. There's one that I want to chase real quick, and it's not in our list. Yesterday, I had the chance to visit with Mr. Mike Lewis, and he may be watching this, and that's great if he is. I want to give him full credit for this, but we were visiting here at the office for a little while, and we got in a discussion about work. And he brought up, and I do agree with this, that every work environment, especially secular work environments, have character. The work environment itself has a character. And typically the character that develops in a work site is based on the leaders at the top. So if you've got a really godly owner, it's going to probably be a very Christian, moral-based environment. If you've got a very secular person who's just about making money, then they're going to push all the stops to try to make sure that the money comes in, even if it causes abuse to people in the business or outside the business.
Yeah.
And one of the things he said that I thought was interesting is we don't talk about this enough. As a believer, if you ever find yourself in a business setting where the character does not match your own as a follower of Jesus, what should you do? And he said most Christians would tend to have this mindset that I've got to stay here because I might not be able to find another job, or if I do, they're not going to pay as much as the one I'm currently, receiving. And so they tend to just hang on and live in that environment that's not healthy spiritually.
Yeah.
And he said, sometimes I think they need a nudge from us as spiritual leaders to say it's okay to leave a job and maybe even take less salary if you move into an environment that fits your spiritual character better, because it's the same principle as being unequally yoked in marriage.
Yeah, I would agree. And
Would
that's
you
what
agree with that?
Well, that's what that verse is about. Is the verse is about business,
Yeah,
and we apply it
that's
to
right.
marriage. But I would go even a step further and say, because I know the rebuttal as well. Like, what if I lose my witness, or like what kind of example am I setting as a Christian if I just quit? Well, to an extent, like you've done it. You come to a point where I've done everything I can, and now you do have to just shake the dust off your feet, like Jesus told his disciples, and just say, hey, like. It's like the Spirit hasn't moved yet, or maybe the Spirit's just not going to move through me and this person, and it has to be someone else. But I've given everything I can first. Yeah. And then you leave. Don't just get into a situation and be like, well, like, this isn't really a godly place. I'm just going to go ahead and quit after 2 months.
Right.
But you've given
or 2 days.
Or 2 days.
No, you had a different situation.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, but I agree with the principle fully, and just that it does.
Yeah.
Jesus has told his disciples to do the same thing.
Well, I knew I was preparing the notes for this particular episode, and I just thought that's a really good insight that we don't talk about. So I just want to say to those of you who might be watching and you're in a business and you can tell the character of that business is not healthy for you spiritually, it could be that God is not so gently nudging you to say it might be time to look for another job in another place that will better fit your spiritual character. Because if you do stay there, you're probably either going to be tempted to drop down to the level of living that the people in the environment are already choosing. It could be you're going to be asked to compromise your morals, it's just going to be unhealthy for you spiritually. You may become spiritually stagnant. And so it might be the better option. And again, I'm with Tyce. Don't do this in the first 2 weeks or first 2 months, but after you've given it enough time and you see that change cannot be brought about, it may be a step of faith and a step of obedience to try to look for a new job in a place that's a better fit for you. You got any thoughts, Clark, on that?
No, that's good. I appreciate what Tyce added too about making sure you've done all you can in the place that you're at. So.
And I would even go, I want to clarify a little bit further with mine. Don't just don't make that decision too if it's just a season. Like if you've been there a year and all of a sudden things start going like terrible, maybe just some people are having some bad days. Maybe your leadership got told just some crazy stuff from some other leadership and they're taking it out. And just maybe this quarter, maybe this few weeks, maybe this year is just bad. Mm-hmm. But if there's not a pattern already set, then maybe you need to try and weather that season a little bit.
That's good. So. That's good. It shouldn't be a knee-jerk reaction in any way. That's right. Exactly. All right. Well, we hope that you've enjoyed today's Table Talks, which gave us a chance to address work since we do celebrate Labor Day. We hope your work environment will give you some great opportunities to build relationships with people that don't know Jesus. And when the door opens, and you'll know the Spirit prompting you when that happens, we hope you will step through that door in your work environment, share the gospel of Jesus, and just continue to be a light right there among those who don't know him. Hope you have a great day and come back and join us for the next Table Talks.